Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory, and as a daily contributor to SGT Report, I've been very honored to speak with a great number of very smart people from around the world. I recently wrote an article for my own website called thedailycoin.org, and the name of the article is Breaking Away from the System. And in that article, I ask a lot of questions. Seeking solutions to the known problems that we all face every day. And I was very pleased and once again very honored to have Mr. Morgan to reach out to me to offer some answers to the questions and offer a couple of solutions. And what is to follow is a casual conversation that David Morgan and I had, and I hope that you enjoy it. Please don't forget to subscribe and share this video and read the article over at thedailycoin.org. Thank you so much.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I take it that you read my article.
Yes. Yeah, I did. And I'm very close to Mike Maloney, and, James Turk and I go back a long ways as well. So I'll give you the history of the silver debit card.
Okay.
I can talk, as you know. You got 10 minutes. I'll try to keep it to that.
Oh, I've got all afternoon, my friend.
Okay. I'm actually due too. I just finished the report, and my wordsmith lady got her part done, so now it's stuff. So anyway, here's the deal. I had the idea, and it's not original, but to have a precious metals backed debit card. And I know this guy named Mark Warsman in Canada really well. Mark used to work with the mining houses when he was a South African citizen, and he got very tight with the banks, the mining house banks in London. But anyway,
Okay.
I gave him the idea that, hey, we should do a silver backed or precious metals backed debit card. He loved the idea. We worked on it for about 2 years. He finally went to Scotia, who I'm not that fond of, but Scotia knew him and said, well, we'll do it if and only if David will promise to get 1,000 signups. And we're going to have a loyalty thing and all this. So I said, I can't guarantee that. There's no way. And so that fell through. And then I got a hold of John Potts. You probably don't know the name, but John was really the founder of the Delaware Depository. And I know John.
Okay.
And have been back there and had lunch with them, and it's that kind of, and he said, yeah, they've tried it and let him see what he could do. And so anyway, the bottom line is the whole thing fell through after a fair amount of work. So about 3 years ago, I think, I'm speaking here in Spokane at the Silver Summit, which was pretty much my invention along with one other guy. And I talk about there'll be a day when you run a debit card, it'll be transparent to the Walmart cashier, and it will debit a certain amount of metal out of your account, and no one's the wiser except that you are using real money to pay for your purchase. Well, this guy Dale Orsman heard the speech and came flying up to me after. And that was just at the end of the speech. Most of the speech was about Utah passing that law that you can use gold and silver, which they don't really need to pass. It's in the Constitution. But anyway, they passed it. And I was asked to be there at the signing and all that, which I thought was very kind of the guys that were, pushing this thing to invite me. So I made the speech pretty much about that, and then I went on to say, someday this will happen, and this is how I think it could be implemented in Utah. So this guy Dale flies up to me and says, hey, I want to do this, blah, blah. And I said, fine, let's go outside the room. The next speaker's coming on stage. So talk to him for maybe 10 minutes and just basically put it out of my mind, because I'd gone with a guy that's really tight with the bullion banks, and we couldn't get it to go. So he comes back about, I don't know, just a couple months later and says, I've done it. And I said, done what? He says, I've got a silver debit card.
Wow.
And he does. And I've got one.
Okay.
And it's really kind of ingenious. It could be any precious metals. It could be gold, silver. And so there's just a few ways to implement it. I mean, one is it's a debit card. That's number one. Number two is that you can drop off the silver or gold with him. You can buy it through him, and it's in a safe, depository which he has access to. That's audited every month. But what I like about it is the simplicity of the design, because I didn't know this for a little while, but he has two sides of the card, meaning that you can fund your card with fiat or metal or both. So I do both because when I started with him, silver's in the $30 range, and I delivered him some, and I just tested it for gas and groceries, that kind of thing, just to make sure everything was, worked. And then he said, you're debiting out $30 silver, and it's at 28 or whatever it was. And I said, yeah, I'm just gonna take the loss for a little while just to check. He goes, well, you can fund it with the cash. So what's nice about that is if you're negative on your silver or gold or whatever, you don't have to run your debit card at a loss. You can just keep using the cash side like it is with any debit card.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think he's got about 30 people. We hooked up with Perpetual Assets. And when I first started, or I should say because it wasn't me. I mean, once Dale started a debit card, here comes Rob Gray, comes flying out to Spokane and has to meet with me. And, so I meet with him. And how does this work? And, I told him how it worked, and without giving away everything up. And we audit everything every month, and, no one's going to get screwed. And, so anyway, they've started their own business, and they promote this debit card. And so, but Dale has total control of it, which is a good thing. So they just I don't even think he pays them a referral fee. I really don't, but he might. I don't know for sure. So it's something slow and building slow, but something that's working. And
that's a good thing.
And the thing that's really cool for me is the number one question I get, and I know what it is because, I'm me and whatever, I'm trying to be funny. And that's, well, I don't know, I'd like to buy it, but how do I sell it? It takes care of that problem.
Yes, it does.
You spend it. Like James Turk has always said, well, how do we sell our gold? He says, you won't sell your gold, you'll spend your gold.
Exactly.
And so this is something that Perpetual Assets has as sort of an added feature, you might say, when they sell bullion to somebody, and they might have that complaint, or even if they don't, they mention that, hey, if you want to take, and we never tell anybody to put, their whole precious metals inventory in our hands. It's not even our hands, in Dale's hands. It's not even Dale. It's a LLC, but they don't put it in the safe. They put it in a portion of it, which is what I do. I don't know what I've got down there, a few hundred ounces. And what I love about it here is, the doom and gloom side, Rory, is if there's a bank failure and everything collapses, your precious metal side is safe. If you have a double account like me, it's one account, but if you have a fiat side and a metal side, your fiat might be lost in the bank closure, but your metal's still there.
And I would imagine that I have to believe that it's in an allocated account. So
right.
all you have to do is make a phone call and say,
yep,
ship
I
it
want
out.
my metal. That's right. Exactly.
That's awesome. I mean, that's great news. I mean, I kind of figured that somebody was out there, had already put into place some type of debit card or credit card,
Yep.
some type of face to the metal, because there's too many things that are floating around,
Yep.
with Utah and now Arizona, stepping forward and saying, we want to deal in real money.
Yep.
And we're just going to ignore the fact that the Constitution already has it on the books because it's tied to the Federal Reserve Act. They've overridden it with the Federal Reserve Act. So we'll just implement a law here at the state level, and to heck with you guys.
Yeah, I've always made I have for a long time, and most people don't catch it nowadays. So many people have come on board to the reality. And this is a joke, but not a joke. I've said, one of the best things anyone can do is call up their county tax assessor on their property tax and talk to this assessor and say, hey, I'm really worried. I think I frauded you. Frauded me? Yeah, on my property tax bill. Well, what did you do? Well, I wrote this check that you cashed, but it's from this private script from this private bank. And I just read the state constitution and the federal constitution. It says I cannot pay. First of all, is it a debt? Well, it's a debt, yeah. Well, I can't pay a debt in anything but gold and silver. That's what says the Constitution. And I paid it with this private script from this private bank. And now I think I'm in trouble. What are they going to do? Am I going to jail?
I'm going to have to try that. Where should I deliver my gold and silver to you?
That's right. Where do I go?
Oh, I love that.
Isn't
Yeah,
that good?
That's awesome.
Well, and I'm not saying I was the one that originated Oath Keepers at all. The Oath Keepers might have been around before I ever made this statement, but Al Corlin, and I don't do Al's radio show much anymore at all, but I used to do it fairly often, once every other month or something. And anyway, he loves the politics thing, which I just, try to stay away from. But so he's drawing me in and says, well, what's your view on this and that? And I go, Al, look, I am the most pro-government guy you've ever met. He goes, what? I go, yeah, I only asked for one thing. He goes, what's that? And I said, well, the one thing I asked for is all political parties, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, I don't care, make one up, is they do the one thing that they publicly do, and that's to uphold the oath of office. That's all I'm asking.
Yep.
And, wow. So, and not that I'm, that profound a thinker, and, someone probably has said it before me. I hadn't heard it, not that someone hadn't, but anyway, it's gotten so bad. I mean, to think that these characters are really against us. I mean, it's the feds versus everybody else.
That's
They're
exactly
out
it.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, David, is that they are actually drawing a line for all to see, not just the American citizens, but for people the world over, that, it is an us against them, that it is the federal government against you, the citizen. And
Yep.
it's, I think that there's been enough situations to happen close enough together, and it started with Syria last year when the people stood up and were calling their representatives and saying, we're not going to war. We don't want any more war. And I think that was one of the stepping stones for waking up people en masse. And now it's culminated just recently with the situation in Bunkerville with Cliven Bundy and that whole thing. And I really think that has solidified a lot of people's view that government is in fact against us. I mean, I hope that I'm right in the awakening process, but these clowns, whatever you want to call them, that don't represent us anymore. I mean, I don't get it. I don't see how in the world anybody could reelect somebody like Harry Reid or John McCain or Lindsey Graham or Dianne Feinstein for that.
Well, I don't believe in every conspiracy out there, but
I don't
I'll
either.
tell you, there's a few that you can, and the one about the voter scam, who knows? I mean,
Who knows?
You just don't. I mean, but
So let me ask you this:
Yep.
as far as how can we, or what would be a plan of action to get more people involved in perpetual assets with their silver or with their metals-backed debit cards, or the other? And what was the other?
Dale Orsman.
Dale Orsman.
Yeah.
And what's the name of his company?
So it's Precious Metals Bullion and Vault Limited Liability Company. That's what it is.
Okay.
Precious Metals Bullion and Vault.
Because I'd really like to. I'm at the point to where we know what the problems are. We know that the system is in a free fall. We also know that our government is completely out of control. So the question becomes, how do I truly protect myself and my family? How do I protect my family? The best way, in my opinion, is to step away from it and to not participate in it. And the best way to do that is through the use of my currency, because, I mean, Rothschild didn't say that, a couple of 100 years ago about give me control of the money and I care not who makes the laws. I mean, he said that for a reason.
Yep.
And that's because he understood that he can control everything if he has control of the money, which they do in this country.
Yep.
The criminals are in charge of our money, and the only way that I can see is to take control of my money, and by getting it away from them, which I got out of the whole banking scam probably 7 years ago now, 6 years ago, and cleared out my 401k. My wife got very upset about it, and so I took everything out. Paid the penalties, paid the taxes, did all that, and guess what? I'm ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ahead
Yeah.
from where I was.
Yep.
And the one question that I ask people when they say, well, why did you do that? I said, because taxes are going to be higher tomorrow than they are today.
Yep.
So I just won.
Yep.
Period. And if people would step back and take a look at that, and that's assuming, of course, that they don't Myra my IRA or my 401k,
Right. Yeah.
because why else would Obama come out and announce Myra and talk about it if it wasn't a mechanism for confiscation? That's what I see. I see that as the first step towards the Treasury taking control of all that money that's sitting out there.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the?
I was way
Myra
ahead
idea?
of the. I agree with you. I was, ahead of the curve. I mean, Jim Paplava used to have me on like every week, and that was been, over a decade ago. But, I said, and he agreed that, there'll be a day where no one wants to buy the U.S. bonds, so they'll force these retirement plans, either you're an IRA or your 401k or your defined benefit program, or all three or four or five, Keogh, Roth IRA, it doesn't matter,
Doesn't matter.
that you will have to buy, 30% U.S. bond or 50% U.S. bonds or whatever. They'll mandate that in order to keep an IRA account or some retirement plan, you will be required to buy U.S. debt because no one else will, to keep the scam going.
Well,
and I said that about a decade ago, and of course here we are. They're doing that.
That's exactly what they're doing. I mean, and now that it's known that China and all of the other major buyers of Treasury bonds are no longer buying, what's next?
Yeah.
Put the mechanism in place and start rolling it out. Introduce it to people so that they know that it's out there. And I mean, it's frightening to me. I mean, my wife still believes in the system, and she still has a couple of different 401k accounts and an IRA account, and it's like, please, I beg her all the time, please get it out, because they're going to take it. They're just going to take it. And she's kind of warming up to the idea, but she's not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there anything that you could share that would help someone like my wife to better understand? I mean, she understands that the system is failing and that there are all these massive problems, but she just isn't willing at this point to let it go. I mean, is there anything that you could say that would help someone like her?
I doubt it. I mean, I'd love to. But it presupposes we know the future, which I think we do, but, there's a presupposition that can't be proven. And secondly, it's a normalcy bias. I mean, most
Yes.
people, as bad as things are, think that, it's going to return to what it once was, or it's going to get better. And of course, that's false.
Yes.
But I don't know. I think you are the best one. I mean, of course, she's not going to because you're married. But I thought immediately when you told me your story is that's what we should talk about. It's like, well, what's the penalty? And the penalty is I did it. So let's have a real life experience. You did it and you paid the tax and you paid the penalty and you got out and you're ahead. That's the point to make. It's a real life example. Stories are much more powerful than the hypothetical. So your story is the one that would be the most powerful to get other people. It's not going to get your wife, but it'll get almost everybody else. So, you answered your own question. When you said it, that's the first thing that popped in my mind was this is the best way you can get others to, bite the bullet, because there's so many that, run their lives based on, well, I'm going to have to pay a penalty, and I got all this money in there. And it's, especially now with silver under the cost of production.
Yes.
If you could get out now, pay the penalty, because you're getting silver at a discount. You're getting it about a 15% discount relative to what the average silver miner has to, pay, in fiat to get an ounce out of the ground and refined. So
and gold as well. I mean,
and gold as well. That's right.
I think that gold is pretty much under production cost as well.
That's right. They both are.
It makes me very happy to hear you say that, David, about my situation, because that's that's what I know to be true.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, like I said, 6 years ago or 7 years ago when I did take it out, it was brutal, because I'm looking at it going, oh my goodness, I just gave up X number of fiat dollars.
Yep.
But now, the way that it's worked out, here it is 6 years, 7 years later, and I am, in fact, pretty far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the stock market, as we all know, that's just another piece of the Ponzi scheme. And that whole thing is, I don't know. I got out of it, so I stopped paying any attention to it. So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you what's going on except for it's at a new all-time high again today. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. Thanks for the update, but it's very exciting for me to have you to reach out and say, here's what's already out there, because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for answers to those questions. I was hoping to challenge the readers, to say, what the problem is. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
And that's what we need, are solutions. I mean, like I said, I'm pretty much up to my eyebrows with the doom and gloom.
Yeah.
I need answers.
Yeah.
We know what the questions are. Let's get on to some solutions here.
So to get a hold of Dale Olmsted, what you want to do is send an email to pmb-v@hotmail.com. That email is Papa Mike Bravo Victor @hotmail.com, pmb-v@hotmail.com. That is precious metals, bullion, and vault, but it's -vault @hotmail.com. So that's a way to get a hold of Dale. Tell him you're interested in learning more about the silver, gold, precious metals debit card. He'll be happy to send you some information.
Yeah, and I'll put that as a link in the About section below the video, and also for perpetual assets as well, so that we can get to the solutions to getting out of this debt-based criminal system that we are all enslaved to. I mean, I guess we should probably end this.
Okay, sounds good.
Unless you've got anything else.
No more insights for today. I think I gave you enough.
All right. Well, I certainly appreciate it, David. I really, really am very grateful for you reaching out to me. I appreciate that more than you can even begin to imagine.
You're most welcome. Take care.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.